All right, let's move on. Let's go to Saturday night in Boulder. This is what it sounded like.
Shedeur Sanders out of the shotgun. He's got a slot to the boundary side right. Wing to the left. Motion man through the backfield. Shedeur takes a snap. Drops to throw. Scans. Throws over the middle. Mikey Harrison. Graham with the 5. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown, Colorado.
Oh, man, I love that call. That was Mark Johnson, by the way, on News Radio 850 KOA. I listened to Mark for a long time because he called my games and had been the voice of the Buffs for a long time. So fun to hear his voice on this show. This Colorado State game was wild. I mean, wild. Okay, there are so many different angles that we can use to talk about this game. Number one, I've seen the ratings. This was the highest rated game by far all day long. Like by a pretty substantial margin, which is wild. It's a 10 Eastern game. And millions of people stayed up. You could see it on social media. I certainly stayed up, flew home, got home, and I was watching the second half. I was following it online on the plane and then in the car ride to the house, and then watched the end of the game at the house. This was a chippy game, a really chippy game, obviously. You think of the buildup to this game, and the buildup almost superseded that this was a football game. Almost every major television show that deals with sports over the last couple of days was there, live, Thursday, Friday. The buildup was incredible. Both pregame shows there. You know, you've got Lil Wayne doing a concert. He brings the team out. You've got the sunglasses line from Jay Norvell earlier in the week. Dion gives his team sunglasses. This thing was everything but football leading up to it. The Rocky Mountain Showdown, near and dear to my heart, there's no doubt. And it was exactly what you would expect a game that was everything but football. That's exactly what we got in the first quarter. It was a horrendous first quarter. Turnovers, sloppiness, chippiness, cheap hits, dirty plays. And by the way, that was a bit on both sides. And I know Colorado fans are going to be like so upset that I said that, but it's true. The hit on Travis Hunter was absolutely dirty. I'm not going to get into that on this show because I'd like to find out more. And I will find out more, and we all will, about that hit. And so that's all I'm going to touch on that for now. It was really dirty, nasty, has no place in the game. I hope Travis is healthy and can play soon, and we'll see how that comes out. But then let's get back to the game. Like the first quarter took an hour because of all the penalties. CSU had 10 penalties on the night. CSU had 17 penalties on the night. Colorado had 10 penalties on the night. And for the majority of that game, I want to give Jay Norvell and his staff and those players, Fowler Nicolosi, the quarterback from CSU, Braden Fowler Nicolosi, was sensational. Their wide receivers were terrific. Their game plan was great. They were the better team for a long time in that game, a long time. In fact, if Shedeur Sanders doesn't get the pick six, Colorado State is owning Colorado for a large section of that game. And I even tweeted out and will defend, they were out coaching Colorado. Colorado did not adjust very well. Let me give you a couple of examples of that. When Colorado State was on offense, they threw, it felt like no less than 20 crossing routes. And it wasn't just crossing routes, because crossing routes can happen at any level of the defense. These were shallow cross routes or drive routes. And Colorado had no answer for these shallow cross routes. And I knew it was about to happen. I'm sure most of you knew it was about to happen, and they could not defend it. They couldn't defend it, and they had no answer. That was a problem. That's a problem when you have no answer. Guess what they're about to see from Oregon? Bunch of crossing routes, shallow cross routes. Why? You had no answer. And quite frankly, Like some other teams are going to do it in a more creative fashion and get even faster players the ball in those spaces, and it could be dangerous. It could be dangerous moving forward. You think Oregon's not going to have a plan for the shallow cross? You think Lincoln Riley and USC is not going to have a plan for those shallow cross routes? My goodness, watch out. And guess what? When it comes to USC, guess who's going to be catching that shallow cross? Zachariah Branch. Good luck tackling him. Good luck tackling him. So that is like Colorado State schemed something up, and Colorado had no answer. So that's at one point being outcoached. Colorado tried to play soft and just say, let's rally up and make the tackle. That wasn't working. They went to man coverage. That wasn't working. They had no answer. Part of that was personnel based. I don't know if Colorado could do much because Travis Hunter was out of the game. If Travis Hunter is in the game, then you put him on what would be considered the tight wide receiver, the nasty split wide receiver, who in these cases was running the shallow cross. You lock him up, man. You can play zone behind it. You can do a lot of creative things right there. You can bracket, but without Hunter, your hands are a little bit tied. Having said that, they didn't have an answer and they let it go on for far too long. On the other side of the ball, what was happening was, yes, a personnel issue, but also Colorado could not find a way to gain yards on the ground. Twofold here. One was, I don't think that they did a great job with their scheme in the run game. And number two is their offensive line played awful. Awful. The reason that I know that and can say that, these are facts, by the way. This is not bulletin board material. You can't put this up in front of them and say like, oh, it's personal. It's not personal. These are facts. You know how I know that? Because for the majority of the time, Colorado State was running a defense where they were running a light run box on defense. What does that mean, Joel? Well, it generally means that the middle of the field is going to be open and you're going to be heavy in coverage. It means that you have enough players on offense to block every single run defender that they have in the box, in the run front, in the run fit, however you want to say it. You have, as an offense, the run ratios. Now, if you cannot run the football and you have the run ratios, you have major problems on offense. Major problems on offense. And they had no answer. They couldn't find a scheme. They couldn't find a way to run the ball and get Colorado State out of that defense. So what did that do? It forced Shedeur Sanders to sit there and hold the ball in the pocket for too long because they were dropping in coverage. There's nowhere to go. The zones are tighter. The lanes are tighter. It becomes really difficult. I don't care how good you are. If a defense can play, let me put it this way. If a defense can stop the run with a light run box, you got problems, in particular as a quarterback. Okay, now, having said that, then the last couple of minutes roll around for Colorado. And Colorado State's coaches begin to make mistakes, and Shedeur Sanders becomes the most clutch player in college football. And you know what? That's not debatable. That is also a fact. And it has played out now over the course of each one of his games. Shedeur Sanders led 3 straight touchdown drives against TCU. And in every one of those drives, Colorado had a deficit and they had to score touchdowns. Against Nebraska, it was a tight game. They scored on 7 of their last 8 drives. Against Colorado State, scored on his final 3 drives of regulation, field goal, touchdown, and the touchdown came on a 98-yard touchdown drive plus a 2-point conversion with under a minute left. He's the most clutch player in college football. He played his best ball when his best was needed. That's what great players do. That's what great players do. In 3 games so far this season, Shedeur Sanders is throwing for 84%, 26 to 31. He's thrown for 450 yards, 14.6 yards per attempt, and 5 touchdowns. Every single one of those is the best in college football. Best in college football. in every one of those categories in the fourth quarter. When the fourth quarter comes around, Shedeur Sanders is the best player in the country. He's the most clutch player in the country. Now, we can have a debate about who's playing the best, who's the best. I talked about Michael Penix. Obviously, Caleb Williams would be in that discussion. There's a lot of great players in the country, and I love covering all of these great players. But when it comes to who is playing the most clutch football in the country, it's not debatable. The facts are in, and the facts are Shedeur Sanders is the most clutch player in the country, and he has been in each one of these games that they've played, TCU, Nebraska, and now Colorado State, which means here's the bottom line for Colorado. As much as there were holes and there were things that would cause concern moving forward, and they're there. We all can see them. There's going to be a reason why they're going to be substantial underdogs to Oregon, okay? Because we all see what went on with the offensive line, and we see what they are defensively without Travis Hunter. Those are issues that they're going to have to remedy. But here's one of the biggest remedies that they have is that all they have to do is keep it close. Because if they're close and he comes on the field, the opposition has problems. That's just the facts. Shedeur Sanders, most clutch player in the country. If they can keep it within a possession, everybody's going to have problems with them. And that's a great feeling if you're a coaching staff, if you're a defense. You just have to get to that point. How do we keep it close? Because we got him. And when he comes on the field, man, he was cold-blooded late. I mean, cold-blooded late. CSU went soft in their coverage. They shouldn't have done that. He picked them apart. I thought they should have gone for it on 4th and 2 in regulation and not punted it down there, even though they pinned him at the 2-yard line. Great execution on the punt. Colorado State absolutely should have gone for 2 at the end of the first overtime. And I was wondering, like, when are they going to show? I was wondering when the broadcast was going to show, like, when are they going to talk about or show whether they're going to go for 2 or not? Because they should have absolutely gone for 2. You can't let number 2 from the opposition walk back on the field. You're not going to stop him. Not in the fourth quarter. Did you read the numbers? Did you hear the numbers that I just gave you? Number 1 in college football in completion percentage, yards per attempt, and touchdowns in the fourth quarter. You can't let that guy back on the field. Colorado State got the benefit of getting the ball second in overtime. I don't know why Colorado took the ball to start overtime. That's a mistake. They took the ball, they scored, they kick an extra point. Colorado State scores. They've got the ball second. You're on the road. You're an underdog. In that charged environment, number 2 is on the other sidelines, and they kicked the extra point? What? What are we doing? Having said that, guy walked right back onto the field. Bam. How are we doing now? And how about Harrison, the tight end? They found a new weapon on the offensive side. So Colorado will be substantial underdogs, I would guess, to Oregon. But the ace up their sleeve is that all they've got to do is keep it close. If they are within a possession late, watch out, because number 2 is that guy.